As we await the January consistory, news arrives from Rome that no one expected, and that could truly change everything. The rumors are growing ever more insistent, and if what's leaking out is true, the Church is entering a much more serious phase than previously imagined. Stay until the end, because what you're about to hear isn't a detail. It's the most disturbing sign in years. There's an unusual sense of anticipation in Rome. It's not the announcement of new cardinals, nor the curiosity for some administrative reform that's stirring things up. What is keeping the Curia in suspense is a deeper, almost symbolic fact. Victor Manuel Fernandez remains in command of the doctrine of the faith. It is here, in this silent confirmation, that we can read the true direction of Leo XIV's pontificate. No sharp break, no sudden shift, no change of direction after years of theological turbulence. The new pope has chosen the most eloquent path, precisely because it is the most discreet, allowing the doctrinal lines already drawn to continue to determine the future of the Church. The first consistory of the pontificate was considered by many the ideal opportunity to demonstrate discontinuity, to mark a before and after, to tell the Catholic world that the era of ambiguity, reductionist interpretations, and endless tensions was finally over. But no, the choice made goes in the opposite direction. Fernandez's permanence indicates not only doctrinal continuity, but a clear desire to consolidate what had until now been controversial. This is not a neutral gesture. It is both a political and theological act, a strong signal addressed to those who were waiting for a silent restoration of Catholic clarity. The prefect's permanence becomes even more significant if one observes the context in which the highest tensions are maturing. This is the case of the document Mater Fidelis, a text that profoundly shook the debate on contemporary Mariology. In it, the traditional titles of mediatrix and co-redemptrix are treated with evident caution, almost suspicion, as if they belonged to an outdated or potentially divisive theological lexicon. Yet these titles had been recognized, defended and pondered by popes, councils, theologians, and the faithful. A living, deep-rooted and emotional tradition, capable of preserving the unique centrality of the Mother of God without detracting from Christ's redemptive work. Attacking Mary strikes at the most intimate part of Catholic identity. It's no surprise, then, that Mater Fidelis has become the symbol of widespread discontent. The fear that the doctrine of faith is no longer a watchtower against confusion, but a laboratory for accommodation towards sensibilities alien to tradition. This fear is confirmed by the words of one of the most authoritative figures in the Catholic world, Monsignor Bernard Fellet, a figure respected for his candor and clarity. In a recent interview, he called the Marian document pitiful and even an insult to God. Words that do not indulge in political correctness, but that capture the discomfort of millions of Catholics who do not understand why doctrine must be corrected precisely where the Christian people have never lost their faith. Fellet didn't just speak about Mariology. He described the crisis that, in his opinion, has accompanied the Church since the Second Vatican Council as terrifying. The temptations are stronger than ever, he stated. And he adds, the Church's influence on the world is now reduced to nothing. It is a merciless diagnosis, but not unexpected. He recalls the prediction now viewed with fear that Cardinal Ratzinger made decades ago. A church reduced to small islands, to tiny resistant communities in a world that had become deaf to the voice of Christ. "I fear we're very close to that time," says Fillet, and to many, reality seems to be proving him right. The most delicate point, however, lies elsewhere. According to Fillet, the Marian document stems not from a desire for clarity, but from an instinct for ecumenical accommodation. "There is a Protestant spirit in the Church," he states bluntly. He says this while recalling that, on the eve of the Council, theologians were very close to defining a dogma on Mary as mediatrix of all graces. It was a mature, theologically solid, and deeply rooted path. A step that would have confirmed what the faithful have always known, that Mary participates in a unique and unrepeatable way in the work of salvation. Instead, that enthusiasm has faded, replaced by a concern not to disrupt dialogue with those who do not recognize her universal motherhood. Meanwhile, in Rome, rumors are circulating that Fernandez will remain in his post until 2028, the natural expiration of his mandate. There's no indication in the Vatican that a change is imminent. In fact, the feeling is the opposite. The prefect enjoys considerable political capital, and his presence guarantees that the line followed so far will not deviate. In other words, the doctrine of faith is destined to remain the fulcrum of a theological project that many consider destabilizing. For critics, the risk is clear. A ministry created to safeguard becomes a ministry that reshapes, an office that, instead of confirming the faith, bends it to the needs of the historical moment. This is the concern spreading among the most attentive faithful, that not only clarity is being lost, but the very idea of non-negotiable truth. In this context, Leo XIV appears to be a much less disruptive pontiff than some had imagined. His affable personality, his ability to tone things down, and his willingness to engage in dialogue certainly create a different climate. But the doctrinal substance remains stuck in the same assumptions of the last decade. A church more docile in style, but no more firm in doctrine. And for many, this combination is more insidious than the previous one, because it weakens resistance, dilutes the alarm, makes it more difficult to recognize the drift as it happens. Meanwhile, Fillet's analysis brings to light another fundamental element. The spiritual crisis is not just a doctrinal issue, but an existential drama. Vocations are declining dramatically. Parishes are emptying. Faith, which once shaped people, today seems to stumble over its own fragility. Fillet speaks of a time in which evil has reached an unprecedented intensity. Harsh words, certainly, but they resonate with everyday reality. Distracted families, deserted sacraments, Catholic identity disintegrated by the dominant culture. It is against this stormy and fragile backdrop that the decision to retain Fernandez in the Church's most delicate position must be understood. The issue isn't personal, it's structural. This is a sign that the pontificate of Leo XIV does not intend to slow down the doctrinal evolution perceived as dangerous by traditional believers, but to accompany it, support it, perhaps even accelerate it. If it is true that a church reduced to small islands is now more possibility than metaphor, then this decision could represent a watershed, the normalization of a fluid, adaptable doctrine, less tied to tradition. What do you think? If you liked the video, comment Amen. God bless you.